Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for joining today's webcast brought to you by Frontier Communications. Frontier helps businesses and individuals stay connected with voice, video, data, and managed services solutions. My name is Bill Fuse, and I am your host. Our conversation today is on social media nuts and bolts, a how-to look at some popular online platforms that can help companies engage customers, prospects, and the community at large. With me today is Bob Christopher, Director of Digital Marketing for Equus Computer Systems, and Albert Marugi, President of Provident Partners and host of The Marketing Edge. Today's discussion is for informational purposes only, and we urge companies to work with their marketing and legal resources as they initiate these types of efforts. Following our discussion, we'll open the lines for some questions, and we'll forward today's presentation to everyone on the call. So let's dig in. Albert and Bob, thanks for coming.
Bill, thanks so much. This is going to be a fun topic because, Bill, as we've done this, we've done many of these webinars. Some of the feedback was we love the ideas of why to use social media and even how in terms of content. But today we want to really get into how do I set it up? And so, and Bob and I have known each other for a while, and Bob's awesome in terms of digital marketing and social strategies. And so we're going to go through a couple of the platforms. Now, because I do a lot of speaking, it is really difficult to do a presentation on social media because there is a wide spectrum of people who have played with social media. And so, but I will guarantee you, we're going to show you some things that even if you have set up a Facebook page and set up a Twitter page, you're going to see some cool things. And Bob, I even showed you a couple that.
Yeah, you always are going to learn something new in the digital marketing sphere. It's not ever going to be all-inclusive of all information. You're never going to know it all, and there's always going to be something new right around the corner. But to have the fundamentals so that you can dive into a new platform or a new resource is going to show business results for you starting immediately. As we begin, I want to remind everyone to post any questions that you have in the GoToWebinar question area, as well as using the hashtag FrontierBiz on Twitter for any communication.
Okay, so we're also gonna have a little fun today. So we want you to show you a website called Disaster Recovery, and I'm going to do this here in a second. And I will pop in the URL to Disaster Recovery in the chat box. I'm going to see if I could do this. Now, what we did is we created this site called Disaster Remodeling, not Disaster Recovery, Disaster Remodeling. And it's just disasterremodeling.wordpress.com, disasterremodeling.wordpress.com.
Now, this is a fictitious business, but it does speak to, the common belief that everybody at some level or another has a love for do-it-yourself, whether it's to save costs or to dig into something you don't know. So Albert created this as opposed to going through, the same old business case studies that you might hear on other calls. This is going to be something that's live and working so that you can see it get played with throughout today as well as moving into the future.
Exactly. And I'm a hopeless DIYer. So I've done a lot of DIY projects. I learned on DIY, and so this is a fun site that we want you to go through. And if you see things that should be on there that aren't, as you look at your own digital marketing, comment on that in the chat box. Okay. All right. So today our agenda, and I'm going to flip back to my keynote presentation here and see how this works, toggling back and forth from real web live demo to the PowerPoint presentation. So our agenda is going to be Facebook, brand, organization, and business pages, how to set it up and how to create engagements, and then ads, Facebook ads versus sponsored stories. Okay. In this page, this is a setup page on Facebook. The URL you may be able to see up at top, facebook.com/pages. This is where you're going to create a page. And on Facebook, you have a couple of choices. One choice here is local business or place. Another choice is company, organization, or institution. And then another one yet is brand or product. There are a couple of others below, entertainment, cause, or artist. That's hard for a New Yorker to say with my New York accent. But I want to show you quickly the differences between the three, and that may help you determine which is right for you. So in local business or place, that to me is very much a brick and mortar type of setup. I'll flip back here to Keynote. As you can see, this local business template gives you things like hours of operation, parking, public transit, a map on where you're located. And so that type of page truly is better suited for a brick and mortar type of situation.
Excellent for driving retail. So not so much a branding location, while it does suffice for a lot of those needs. This really is something that you can utilize to drive traffic to your actual physical location.
The next one is a brand or product. And when you set up your page, you would go here and choose from this drop-down category. And the drop-downs are different for each of these. Sure, there's a ton of overlap. But that's why, even as you're first starting out, Bob, I think even this first decision can be a confusing one for a lot of businesses.
Oh yeah, because if you feel that you cross multiple categories, how do you decide exactly what's going to be the category you choose? You may do it based on sales numbers. You may do it based on volume of traffic. If something drives people in to your location or to your online business, but in the end they end up purchasing another product, it really does come down to the fundamentals of your business.
Mm-hmm. So a brand page is more global in nature. If you really are a household name, or even if you're a business-to-business household name, okay, you may want to think about brand pages. Now, and Bob has great insights on both B2B and B2C environments. But the idea here is a brand page is probably best if you're global in nature, if you're selling completely online, you don't have a single brick and mortar type of setup.
You know, and you're going to see a lot of corporations out there, such as like the Coach store. They will have a branded page to drive interactions online. But at the same time, they're going to have local business pages in the areas where they have a local store presence, such as, say, at the Mall of America or an outlet mall. They'll have those to drive physical traffic, where the brand page is going to drive that virtual traffic and interaction amongst your brand loyalists.
Okay, so just to drive a fine point on that, it could be like if you're a restaurant chain and you have restaurants in several cities, you want an overall umbrella brand page, and then each city may want a separate local business page on Facebook.
Yep, because if you did all of that localization on your brand page, you're going to confuse your visitor. It's going to get way too minute in the details.
Okay. So what we've done here is we're going to get into the company page here. This is in my way of thinking, this is kind of splits the middle and allows you to be both flexible as well as detailed if you have to be. So if you were to choose here and do get started, I'll go back to our PowerPoint and show you what those pages are going to look like. So here's your Facebook business page setup, and you can see in here at the top, and you can see my cursor underscoring this. You have companies and business consulting services. That's the category that I picked for disaster remodeling. And we set up a disaster remodeling page. And here, as you can see, it does have an address field, but you could elect to put an address in, or not put an address in. And that's why I like the business page choice. It allows me some more flexibility.
It's excellent for an online organization if you're doing mostly online sales, or if that's what you're looking to use Facebook for, is to drive online traffic and not accent your existing retail business.
Brick and mortar. As you move down in here, there's fields for mission statement, when you were founded, awards, products, email, phone, and then linking out to your website. So this is the screen grab from Disaster Remodeling. And I want to go out to our Facebook page for Disaster Remodeling. I'll go back here and do.
And while Albert's pulling that up, keep in mind that you are not limited to one page. If you need to have multiple presence set up under your account, you are able to do linking so that you can take care of what your business needs are and not be limited by a tool.
All right, so in here, we've set up Disaster Remodeling. And I think what's key is before you even set it up, and I know Bob is going to go into this here in a second when we get to what's the content, but you really need to think through your content and think through a spectrum of topics and a spectrum of formats. So it's not just text, it's not just a status update, but it's topics, visuals, format. And when I say format, I mean everything from text to video to audio, and visuals from video to pictures to even locations and check-ins. And the other one last thing I want to, before I flip it over here to Bob, I think, Bob, this whole timeline way that Facebook has changed really should allow marketers on this call to think through, what is my timeline for content? I want to pop back over because this is your, Bob, your comment as we were working through the research for this presentation. You are adamant about having this particular slide and really talking through Editorial Calendar.
Yeah, and as Facebook made that change to the timeline, it took a lot of us by shock, and the older we are, I think the more set in our ways we are. So even just changing Facebook, well, you can't change a good thing. But this has allowed marketers a lot more power, but it's also allowed a lot more visibility, easily monitored by your visitor. So when you start taking into consideration editorializing or adding content to your site, be aware that if you're going to start out real strong, doing it every day for the first month, and then you go to once a week, and then maybe it's once a month, that is going to be very evident to people visiting your page. So be sure that when you decide what type of content and how often you're going to be providing that content through your page, that you set up a process and a procedure that you can be held to through your business, that you can have people step in for you on if you're unable to do it yourself, and that you can maintain with consistency. You don't have to publish content every day. You don't even have to publish content multiple times a week. But if you do it consistently.
And Bob, Click Studios, where you run marketing, is I know I'm big on the kitchen cabinetry that you have, and it is a natural for a guy like me who's into disaster remodeling. All right, so I want to go back out to, before we do that, I want to just advance this one slide and talk about Facebook ads, because that's where we're going to go next, and we're going to show you how to research this. Facebook ads, I've found, can be very effective. They're dirt cheap to try out and just play with. And there are two types of what I would call ads. One's a Facebook ad, and another one is a sponsored story. And we're going to pop out, back out to the web here. When you set up a page, there is this admin panel here on the top. You can choose to hide it or go to the admin page, as you can see here. And when you want to build an audience, it's right here, create an ad.
So that admin panel button is, if you haven't seen it yet, it is up in the upper right corner.
It forces me, instead of using Facebook as disaster remodeling here, are you saying, let's see, if I continue here, let's see if it'll go on. I think that froze for a second. Let's see where we're at. Okay.
In your admin panel, what you're going to see is you have your access to notifications, a list of the people that most recently have liked your page, and other aspects to help you determine what the metrics are telling you on your page you need to do as a next step. So then when you go in to create an ad, you have a simple walkthrough process.
You can see here, it's asking me what page, now I'm admin a number of different pages, what page do I want to drive my ad or sponsored story? I want to drive it. You could drive it here to the main disaster remodeling page, or you could drive it to a specific post on disaster remodeling. Now you may say, why do I want to, what's the difference between either or? I'll give you an example. If you're running a contest and the contest is on a specific post, or you're doing something what's called like gating. Like gating is where you produce a piece of content and you put it out as a post. For example, which do you like? Sync A or Sync B? And you want people to like that particular post, and if you have a certain threshold of people, say 200 people like that, then you will display a 25% off coupon to one of those two syncs. So that's one way, or one of the rationales between picking a specific post or the main site. So we're going to say people will see a new ad, and now here we go through the ad process. Now, here's one of the things I really like, Bob, and I recommend this to anyone. Go through the create the ad process, if for nothing else, to see what is my total market, not my total, but my market size of people on Facebook. So, for example, here I am in disaster remodeling, and if I scroll down, I can choose my audience. Now, if my audience is the United States, then great, I'm going to keep it here. If my audience is DIYers, so let's just say I'm going to go to at least 27 years old. I want people to be able to own a home. And I want their interest. I could either pick from these broad categories, or I could actually type in DIYers. And by golly, I've got a DIY network. So now you can see that people who have between the ages of 27 and 65, who have a specific interest in DIY network, that number is 119 million. Yowie. That's a big number.
You know, you're starting with the basic marketing principles of determining your target audience, first by location, so geography, then by demographics, so your age, sex, you can require that exact age match, and then by interest. These are the things that go into every ad campaign from every company across the U.S. as if they're putting the effort into it,
sure,
to make sure that their dollars are spent wisely. So you can determine now the size of audience that your product or service is applicable to.
And then we could choose here people only connected to disaster remodeling. So, for example, if you have then a number of
people who already have liked your page, they would be included then exclusively in seeing that ad.
And so you could add to your own network.
Yep.
You could present ads to your own network.
Drive people back into your page to see your new content or to see what developments you've had most recently.
Or you can do people not connected to disaster remodeling and trying to drive people to disaster remodeling to like it or do whatever the action you want to take.
So Cindy had a question on linking pages. So is this where we would do that? Does this address that issue that Cindy has?
Well, if it's linking Facebook pages, you certainly can link the ad to a Facebook page here.
When you go out and you create, for just specifically linking a page to your existing account, when you create it, that page will be associated with your account. it'll then give you the opportunity to post either as yourself or as that page entity, or so that business entity. So if Albert on his page wanted to post as disaster recovery,
here?
He has this drop down that you'll see on the screen momentarily, and he could change to be any one of these other personalities or personas. These are all pages that have been created for his various endeavors, and they are all under his single account. Facebook does that for you automatically if you've created the page under your core account that you use. Facebook does not encourage you to have multiple personal accounts, but they'll allow you to have multiple business pages and different types of group pages assigned to that one personal account.
So as a social media consultant, I administer these pages that you see on that particular drop down. And keep in mind one quick thing. You know, I've been doing this a long time, so there may be other ways to set this up, but when I set this up years ago, this is how I set it up.
And Cindy, I hope that answers your question. If not, just shoot us another question in the chat box. Thank you.
Yeah, keep that chat box coming. Also, the Twitter stream, and I should probably turn Twitter on here on my phone, hashtag Frontier Biz, Frontier, B-I-Z. All right.
You know, and as we're looking at these ads, there are two main categories of ads. There are sponsored stories, and then there are just your straight advertisements.
Let me go back to that PowerPoint slide to highlight that.
You can look at these as two different functions. You know, as we were talking, that you can have ads that drive people to your existing like page. You can have people that are already members or have already stated that they like your page. You can drive them back to it to see new content. Well, that's going to happen for you mostly through a sponsorship or a sponsored story. When you're doing a sponsored ad, you're typically driving traffic internally throughout Facebook. When you're doing a straight advertisement, that's where you're driving a call to action offline, or not offline as you could do a telephone number, but offline from Facebook to another web presence outside of the Facebook network.
Now, my little rule of thumb is it's best to do an ad if you have a limited number of people who like your page, right? If I only have 10 people that like my page, there's not going to be that many other friends of friends who are going to be displayed, as you can see here by the display image on the right. This is a sponsored story that came on my page. So I know Angie, Patrick, and Brian. I know them. And so Facebook is plucking them out of my network because Angie, Patrick, and Brian all like Aim Clear. Now, if I don't have that many people on my page, a sponsored story is not going to be as effective.
But after you've implemented all of these tips and strategies, you'll have probably 10,000, 100,000, or maybe even 1 million people. So that may not be relevant tomorrow. But today, you definitely need to keep in mind, where are you going to get that biggest bang for your buck? And driving people through a sponsored ad that's going to show who else likes your content may not be the best first move for you.
Okay. Let's go. The next thing we're going to get to is Twitter and signing up for a new Twitter account. So what we did was we actually signed up for a new Twitter account as Disaster Remodeling. One quick, well, there are many quick tips, but one thing to remember, Twitter accounts are per email. So you cannot have more than one Twitter account on the same email, okay? So if you say, for example, John Smith has set up a Twitter account, they're using it. Now you want to set up John Smith Consulting. You have to do it with a different email address.
And don't worry, if you've misprinted the name that you wanted to use for your account name, or something changes in your business down the road and you need to make a change to how you're represented on Twitter, you can change the username associated with the email, but the email address will always stay static. So keep in mind, you know, as disasterrecovery.net has Albert as an email address assigned to an account, he could also have just Al set up as an account and use that email address for a second presence on the web.
And I'm just showing you here this, you will get a confirmation that you'll need to click on. Now I want to go out to, well, before I go out there, I want to show this. This is important. This is something that I noticed in setting up this Twitter account. It's funny, you know, I'm so glad I set up this disaster remodeling account, because if you don't go through the process on, you know, twice a year or once a year, you don't know some of the changes in the new process. Okay. This was the first screen. Welcome, disaster remodeling. Getting started in less than 60 seconds. And they took me through the getting started process. Now, the Twitter process has this screen as next, and it says, find people by name. In other words, the Twitter process says, thank you for setting up your profile. Now, go follow people. That's the next step. Now, granted, you could always click skip, okay? But if you're just rifling through this stuff, you're liable to say, yeah, I'm going to follow people. I'm going to go on here, and Twitter is going to, based on your name that you put in, and in a search box that's up here, you could type in, I'm interested in DIY. Great. I typed in DIY, and it gives me all these DIY-related things to follow.
You know, and something I hadn't thought about in the past but was brought up recently as a question, you can't go out and tell people to follow you through a process like this. All you can do is go and follow people, and that's the intention of Twitter. It's that one-way action on your part, following people. So once you've followed people and they see you, typically they're going to follow you back.
Well, let me interject in here, because this is where I have a problem with Twitter's process and one of the Marucci cardinal rules. I would never, ever suggest following people before you build an editorial body of content. Now, if you do it the way Twitter sets it up right now, you are starting to follow people before, and you see here on the right side, these are your tweets from your profile. The reason it's empty is because the way Twitter set it up when I started, it did not say, oh, tweet first. It didn't say that. It said, go find people to follow first.
So maybe the best solution in order to have content ready to go, as you're going through the setup process, you should probably have a couple tweets, maybe pre-written in a Word document.
Absolutely.
Or something that you could cut and paste, go through the process and immediately tweet.
So now let's go back, let's go out, and let's go to our Twitter page on disaster remodeling. So here's our Twitter profile on disaster remodeling, and I set up tweets. Here. I set up tweets, and these are the tweets that I set up before I started following people. Now let me tell you why that's important. When you follow somebody, they are going to get an email that says, disaster remodeling just followed you. And the likelihood is you're going to click, who's this disaster remodeling? If you don't have editorial content there to describe to people, here's the type of content I'm going to be having, they will not, in my opinion, I don't think that they will be likely to follow you just based on your name and your profile.
And also think your profile through for that point too. As you have limited content, people will be more reliant on your profile for a thorough explanation of who you are and why the heck you're following them.
And I can just say from my personal experience, when I get an invitation from someone, I always look at what they've tweeted to see if it's relevant to me. And if there are no tweets from that individual, I don't follow them back.
Okay. So I want to go into the settings here, because here are some of the key points we want to highlight as you set up this disaster remodeling profile. And we do have a secret cool thing as we go through this. So now, here's the username, and this is what Bob was talking about earlier, that email address. Location may be important to tweets if you're if you're always mobile and you want people to know where you're at. And
and geolocation is what that's a part of, and it is becoming huge in social media.
Yeah, I'm really big on geolocation. Okay, I'm going to click on mobile messaging. Bob, explain what this is.
Well, now, this is going to be so that you're always connected, because you're not always going to have your computer in front of you and Twitter turned on. So if people do send you a comment or a question about your product or service, and you want instant access to that, this is where you would be setting that up. You're going to provide your telephone number to them. And, you know, the relativity of your smartphone capabilities aren't really apparent, because this isn't going to come through that internet-based services. This is going to come as a text message or an MMS. And what it is Twitter will forward to you any text messages or any tweets that are written to you.
Right.
And you can set this up, I believe, so that you can receive messages directly to you, or messages, and also include messages that mention you in a tweet.
Now, so why would you want this? If you're in customer service, if you have retail sites and people are there and they're complaining or praising, I don't want to get the complaint. I don't want to go overboard on the negative. If people are praising you, by God, you want to retweet that thing, right? So it's about being connected. And the fact of the matter is, we live in a real-time world right now. Okay. Here's our profile. Bill was talking about this earlier as well. Whatever picture you put in there is important. The website that you want to drive people to is important. And your bio. Some of the things in your bio, you want to treat the bio very similar to the way you would do SEO on your web page. You want to use some of those keywords. So, for example, here, I'll tell you a mistake. Here's a mistake that I would want to put right in here. I want to put DIY. In fact, I might even hashtag DIY in my bio. So I want people who, if they're going to be searching on a hashtag DIY, I want them to follow me. And I'm sorry.
You know, we get into geek speak real easy here.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Let's explain that. A hashtag is the way that Twitter uses to identify subject content. So, you know, all of search and the whole internet, we're all working in a world where it's based on search content and that one or two keywords that define what you're looking for or what you're talking about. A hashtag is Twitter's way of identifying what the subject is in a tweet, or in this case, a profile.
And I'm going to show you. We're going to do hashtag DIY. You can make hashtag your restaurant, hashtag countertops, hashtag whatever. Enter it in, and now these are all tweets of people that are into DIY. So why is this important? If you want to build a following, you want to find new people. So you can do a hashtag, whatever your topic is, and now go, why is New York events? Who are they? Who is this person? And then you may want to follow them. Okay?
You know, and look at it as insight into your potential network, your customer base, and also your competition, because you'll be able to see what your competition is doing if they're using some of these hashtags to link to their content.
You also can do what I call piggybacking. Look, in the last minute that we've been talking, from the time I entered hashtag DIY, there have been 20 new tweets with the hashtag DIY. I call this piggybacking. Why? If I want to attract new people to me, and I see that DIY is a popular hashtag, then I want to do things with that hashtag. I may be putting up, as I did to Bob, because I'm going to be redoing kitchen cabinets. I sent a picture of my kitchen cabinets and hashtagged it DIY. And now, granted, I may be attracting people who are selling kitchen cabinets, but quite frankly, that's not a bad thing, because I'm in the market for kitchen cabinets, right?
Yep. And, you know, you can identify people based on what's of interest to you right now and do the piggybacking. You can also keep an eye on that box to the left where it's the worldwide trends. And, you know, I think this is one of the first days I'm out here where I'm not seeing a Kardashian mentioned as a trend. But these are the items that are being hashtagged the most currently out on Twitter. And when something takes off, it takes off like wildfire.
And you can change that based on your location. Okay, I want to flip on back. There's kind of a sidestep there, but I want to flip on back to my settings. And here's where I want to go into design. I want to show you something really cool. So even you advanced users, check this out. Right in here, check out Themalon. This is a Twitter partner where you can go and use this little template to actually build your background in Twitter. And it is a fun little tool. Love it. And you can find that in, I want to go back and show you.
Yeah, so when you're setting up that Twitter account, you have this basic group of templates that Twitter provided. You know, they're plain, they're basic, and they aren't meeting people's needs anymore. So people are throwing in pictures, and it's actually becoming quite a ugly coloring book for people because they don't have any guidance. Use a tool like this through Themalot, and now you get some nice guidance as to how do colors go together. And so for those of us that are more technical or analytical, it kind of brings out that graphic artist we never knew existed inside.
Exactly. Now I want to quickly go over to content. I found a new little tool. It's called Roost. This is free. It's free because it's sponsored by Vertical Response, which is an email marketing platform. And so I'm sure you'll be invited to use Vertical Response. But quite frankly, this is an awesome tool.
And for the folks who can't see the URL,
oh, sorry.
The URL is www.roost.com.
R-O-O-S-T. All right. Let's see if I, and in this, let's see if I log in here. Perfect. And I'm just watching this appear on the screen as you see it now. Here's what I like about Roost. As you think about your content, what you think about is a campaign. Let's say I want to build, as Bob talked about earlier, I'm going to have a blog post about new designs in kitchen cabinets, okay? And I'm going to integrate my video, my pictures, my blog post, my Twitter content. And so as disaster remodeling, we're going to say, okay, we're going to create a campaign. We're going to create it, and it's going to be over the period of 5 days. We're going to call this KITCHEN. Oh, we're going to start it, sorry, we're going to start it today.
And go to the next step. You know, and as we're going through these steps, so Roost is a marketing automation tool, and Vertical Response is a leader for small businesses in marketing automation. So they take email campaigns and do what they call nurturing, so they can schedule a bunch of emails to go out. So Roost, now that they've made this acquisition, is a nice extension of that into social media, specifically into Twitter.
This is the posts, and Roost will walk you through, okay, if you want a post that has add a link, meaning, okay, I am going to do one of two things. Roost will allow you to take links from other blogs that you like. So for example, this is a blog from the DIY network that I read, or this is another blog from, I believe, HGTV that I read. And what Roost will say is, hey, we'll send a tweet linking people back to this third-party content. Third-party content to me is critical, and it should be, I would say,
yeah, you know, we're never going to
a third of your tweets.
Yeah, definitely. You know, and nobody's going onto Twitter to get a bunch of sales pitches. They're going onto Twitter to learn more about things that they care about. And so if you can't build all the content yourself, which is what you have to accept right from the start, you need to look for other thought leaders and subject matter experts in your field and utilize their content. Now, it is a big no-no to repurpose someone's content without giving them proper credit.
Right.
And so that's what you're doing with this, is repurposing content while giving credit back as we were all taught in school to the original source.
Here's another way to create your posts in Roost. You're going to schedule these posts. Now here, I went out and copied a link from Disaster Remodeling. And I'm going to say, okay, in this particular tweet, instead of taking third-party content, I'm going to create my own. And now I'm going to drive a link, and then I'm going to say, this is my bathroom project. What do you think? I could even ask a question. Save it, and it'll go out, and I could link that to my Facebook page.
Yep.
So I could take that tweet, and it could end up as a Facebook post as well. Now, why these, and then I don't want to have to go through each one of these, but it could say ask a question, status update, post quotes, add a photo. It keeps you thinking. This Roost platform keeps you thinking about new and creative content.
Well, and if you're ever going to create a dependency, as we were talking with Facebook, where people expect you to have a certain level of content, but you want to go on vacation.
Right.
You know, in the world of Twitter now, with something for automation like this, you can pre-schedule some of your tweets. Hey, I'm going to be away, but I'm still going to have that great content you're looking for. Look for my tweets that I've set up this week to be delivered next week. Hope you enjoy.
Post away. Or you actually may have another job to do besides hanging around on Twitter. And so we've covered Facebook, we've covered Twitter. We could go into analytics, but I want to skip the analytics part for the sake of time. We could do a whole separate piece on analytics. Know that in this Roost platform, there are analytics that will tell you how many times your link was clicked on, where it was from, that kind of thing.
And just remember, anything you do in social media can be measured. And if it can be measured, it can be improved upon. So whether it's Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, what have you, there are analytical tools for measurement available, easily accessible to you.
I want to jump into video now and YouTube only for two reasons. One, Bob's organization has a wonderful, wonderful Facebook page. I mean, textbook in terms of the type of content and the quality of the video. And so this is called Click Studios, and that's their channel, right, Bob?
Yep. Now, when you post content onto YouTube, there's two ways you can do it. You can just post something based on your individual personal user account, or you can create a channel. When you create a channel and post your content, it can be specific to your business. It could be specific to your product, your industry. You can have multiple channels out there. It is a nice way to organize your video content. Now, what we've been able to do at Click Studios is we actually drive visitors to our site through other mediums, whether it's through email, pay-per-click advertising on Google, our Facebook channel, and different things. The main thing to know is when we post videos, you are opening yourself up wide for people's comments and opinions, their likes and their dislikes. And as you can see, this particular video we have up on the screen has been viewed 3,300 times. It has 8 people that have gone out of their way to say that they like it, and 1 person that said they didn't like it. Now, this is great information for a marketer, to be able to go out and find that person that didn't like it and determine why, or have a one-on-one conversation back and forth with that person would be great. As you can see, we try to interact with our users and their comments so that when they post something in relation to the video, they know that it's not just a comment on the video, but it's something we're willing to respond to and add additional information. We've actually determined a lot of our editing and production schedule based on what we've learned through the video channel.
Oh.
So we'll determine what's our next video to produce. It's going to be based off of what we've seen for statistics and comments and interactions right from YouTube.
And all of it's on the back end of YouTube. And do you tie that into Google Analytics? Because
we do. So the analytics button up here at the top does allow us the ability to see it here on YouTube, but we've also taken these pages and tied it directly into a larger measurement tool through Google so that we can see it in relation to our other marketing efforts. So, our performance and our subscribers, likes, dislikes, and this is initially for this video here that you're seeing with your engagement, channel views, and you can see how each video is performing as we scroll down. And we can also see our demographics. I'm personally in the Gen X generation, and so I still do a lot of my searching through Google. But Gen Y and the millennials, the second largest search engine is YouTube.
Oh.
And that audience, that demographic group, is using video more to answer their questions as opposed to text-based answers.
And I also think the use of video depends on the topic. Me as a DIYer, I'm all over video. I mean, I actually need video. A text doesn't do me any good, quite frankly. That's why people don't read manuals, right? So the other thing I do, and the other thing I've seen, anything dealing with training is heavy on video, whether it's basketball coaching or mechanics. Anything to do with training has a lot of video. Social, software usage.
Yep.
So,
and for me, I don't really watch a full video ever, and you're going to get statistics on that as far as how many people have watched your videos. Don't be discouraged if you're showing an average of 50% of your video being watched, because you have people that clicked it, immediately found out it's not what they were looking for, and then you have others that changed their mind halfway through, or they got the information they were looking for, and they move on.
Now, YouTube is a perfect segue to the latest, greatest, shiny new object called Pinterest. And if we click on that Pinterest tab up at the top, here's the interesting thing that's going on right now. And I'm 53 years old. I've been around the block a number of times. And I say that because I was in PR, traditional PR, back in the 80s when USA Today first started, okay? And USA Today, folks, is really what drove us down this road to visuals, okay? USA Today was all about the graphic. The infographic is what's now called in social media. But the fact of the matter is, anything social needs to have a visual component to it. And that's why Pinterest has taken the digital marketing world by storm. Because any picture is worth 1,000 words. And in this case, here's DIY. I could do something like this. Let's say TCHEN, kitchen cabinets, TS. And up will pop a whole bunch of ideas on kitchen cabinets. And when I click on one of these, it's going to take me to either that website or commentary about these particular products. And that's why a company like Lowe's, Lowe's home
improvement, home products, services,
has gone crazy on Pinterest. They love Pinterest because, I'm going to flip through this real quick. They love Pinterest because of this. They tied their Facebook fan page to their Pinterest account. They set up an account on Pinterest, and because Lowe's has many products that are visual in nature, they said, we need to be on Pinterest, and as a result, they integrated these two pages, their Facebook page with their Pinterest page, and they saw a 32% increase in Facebook fans.
There's a marketing principle that believes there's 3 steps to anybody purchasing a product or making a decision in the end. And first, it's inspiration, then it's education, and then it's engagement. Pinterest is all about inspiration. And Lowe's could sell fertilizer and just say it's got this content of nitrogen and this much phosphorus and this and that. But really, they're going to inspire you with a green lawn and a lush, beautiful landscape, and that's what's going to move fertilizer for them. So, well, enough about fertilizer.
Just say those four again. Inspiration.
Inspiration, education, and engagement. Your three circles of social media.
Love that takeaway. Inspiration, education, and engagement. And that's why these things really require, if I may add one last one, integration. Integrating the blog, the website, the visuals on YouTube, the real-time Twitter component, and now a visual aspect. So the takeaways before we get to questions, Facebook is the 800-pound gorilla. Because of what we showed you in researching your ads, you can see the market size or the market potential that is on Facebook, and you can determine if it's for you. Twitter, I love people who say somebody who tells me that they had a ham sandwich isn't important. I have to be a little blunt here. You are not everyone. That's number one. Number two, if you're a restaurant, you do care whether somebody had a ham sandwich or not. Or everyone, there is a topic that some people are interested in, and that's your market. We are into short bits of information, folks, and just like USA Today has made it through the last 30 years, social media is the USA Today for this era. YouTube is the video revolution. 50% of content now is video-based that people are getting either on their laptop or their mobile device. And last point, Pinterest integration. We've seen with companies like Lowe's that integrating the visual component to their other marketing channels has driven likes across the board.
You know, there's all of these tools that we're talking about, and these are the big boys that are out there, and there are so many more that you're going to hear about and see in these articles. Definitely go out and check them out, but work with the big established items first before you start going off into these other social media things that come up every day.
Great. So at this point, and we've got a few questions that came in on chat, and we'll address those, but we'd like to open it up for additional questions on the line. So operator, would you have anyone in the queue?
At this time, I would like to remind everyone, in order to ask a question, please press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. Again, that's star 1 to ask an audio question. We will pause for just a moment to compile the Q&A roster.
You know, and while we're doing that, I did see one of the questions that came through was, how much is a Facebook ad? And I can tell you, whether it's Google AdWords, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or other tools, your ads are going to be based on the popularity and the size of your industry or interest. I have bought ads for 7 cents, and I'm building a campaign for servers last night, computer servers, and I was paying $17 per click. So there is a huge variation. It's impossible for us to be able to narrow that down for you.
Very good. Thank you, Bob.
Your first question is from the line of Karen Lee.
Hi, Karen.
Hi. Hi, how are you today?
Great. Thanks very much.
You guys are doing a good job, and I do have an interest in learning how to integrate Facebook with Pinterest.
So I would answer the question quickly, and then we can follow up with an email out as a topic for a follow-up email. But there is a way to integrate with a Pinterest app using that on your Facebook page and creating the link back to your Pinterest page.
So you're seeing in these timelines the different things that you end up associating yourself with. Like for me, it's video slots online or different games. If Pinterest is something you've associated with, if you've allowed that app access to your Facebook account, it will show up directly in your timeline.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And we'll follow up.
Integrate. So go ahead and get that into the timeline, and then how does that convert then back over to Pinterest so that it shows all of the information, such as what Lowe's is doing.
So as soon as somebody clicks inside of that box that shows up in your timeline, they're driven to Pinterest and taken right to your Pinterest.
To your Pinterest page.
Okay. Okay.
That makes sense?
I will be experimenting with that and see if I can get the same results.
Great. Thank you, Karen. Appreciate the question.
Thank you so much.
Your next question comes from the line of Richard Hutchinson.
Hello, Dick. How are you?
He's good. Just a real basic question. If Facebook has already set up a company page for you, what should you know about then going in and following, one of the options that you gentlemen outlined about, setting up a page? Is it going to backfire on me?
Well, Dick, if your corporation has set up a page, that means that you have a social media policy in place at that organization. First and foremost, there are a lot of legal ramifications because this is an advertising medium, so be sure that you are following your corporation's social media policy.
I'm sorry, I'm not Dick, but let me stop you right there. I don't have a social media policy with Facebook. This just appeared on Facebook. I've had nothing to do with it. Nobody's asked me about it, etc.
I see what you're saying. So you either do one or two things. I'm not sure if the page has already been set up or they're pulling information from like a Wikipedia, because I've seen that. But if a page is already set up, there is a means that you can go in and say, this page is not the official page of my company. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, basically I'm searching for answers because
exactly
I have to go away and I want to put my own up.
Exactly.
I've actually gone through the process for a couple of online presences through Twitter as well as Facebook, and you type in to the support box on Facebook or Twitter, branding, legal branding, or not owning correct page. They'll have the search suggestions for you on where to go for that correction.
Could he email us and we'll get him back?
If you would, we've got a list of the contacts from today's webcast on the screen. And regrettably, we're out of time. As a reminder, we'll forward today's presentation to everyone on the call. There are a number of questions that came in on the chat, and we will respond to those individually after the webcast. But if you do have additional questions, feel free to email any of us. And on behalf of Frontier Communications, I thank you for joining today's call.
Thank you. This concludes today's conference call. You may now disconnect. Oh, Mr. Pugh?
Yes?
Hi, sir. You did have a question.